At the Okoli Law Group, we specialize in producing justice. If you or a loved one in the Atlanta metro area is facing serious criminal charges, then you need serious legal representation.
The Okoli Law Group is here for you. The Okoli Law Group is here for us.
The Okoli Law Group, serious legal representation.
Peace, family. We are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Huru. Thank you all for joining. Brother Akindele should be on here shortly. Before we get started, got a couple of announcements. First of all, hold on. Let me get this straightened out. There we go. Come on now. Get back in focus. Get back in focus. Hold on. Get back in focus. Are we back in focus? We're not back in focus. Hold on. Put my... What's going on? Hold on. Get back in focus. Get back in focus. There we go. Bam. Okay, we're back. All right. So we have a couple of announcements before we get started. Announcement number one. We are rolling to Nigeria. August 4th through the 13th. We are rolling to Nigeria. I will greatly appreciate it if you guys go to donfo.africa. In fact, let me share the screen. Let me pull it up. In fact, that goes Brother Akindele right there. Please visit donfo.africa to learn more. Let me, there we go. Bam, there we go. August 4th to the 13th. And also make sure you subscribe to the newsletter as well. So everyone who's watching this, go to donfo.africa and make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. Okay. Link, I'll put the link in the chat room right now. Bam, it's simple. It's donfo.africa. You know, we got the African pride over here. So, you know, the domain name is .africa, not .com, .africa. So Oshun Festival, August 4th to the 13th. And then we are rolling to Zanzibar, September 22nd through October 1st. We are also rolling to Zanzibar. So we will love to have you all come and enjoy and experience. Come out and experience with us to Africa. Again, come and join us on an experience to Africa. We will love to have you. And if you have not bought the documentary, please click that documentary link on top of the screen on the main page on the website and purchase the documentary. It's streamed, so it's yours forever. You can stream it as much as you want, kind of like Netflix, but it's just a one-time fee. So there we go. Without further ado, we have Brother Akindele on with us today. We're going to be discussing the importance of building that bridge, not just on a what's the word, on a business, not just on a connecting, learning our roots level. I'm trying to think of the word I want to use, but on a business level as well. So we're gonna bring on Brother Akindele. We're gonna bring him on right now. What's going on, brother?
Hey, brother, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Can't complain.
Okay, well, you know, glad to have you. Glad to have you again.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. So yeah, just let me start off with this question. This is a question I want to ask. Let me start off with this question before. If you know, let me back up. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Let people know who you are. Then I have a question for you. But go ahead.
Yeah, you know, for those who are new to this program and new to me, I'm Akindele Akinyemi. I am the president of the board of directors for the Global African Business Association. We are a business support and economic development agency based here in the state of Michigan. We are celebrating 10 years of service this year. That's pretty significant, especially in this type of space that we have been working in for the past decade. What we do is we help African Americans and other people, help them penetrate the small, medium-sized enterprise markets in various nations in Africa. And we also help our brothers and sisters from the continent that is trying to establish their business here in the US. Now, there is a method to our madness. We believe, as an organization, as an association, that two-way trade is necessary to make economic impact in local urban communities. So we're not just establishing businesses from the continent here, but we're also using our local cities as a municipal incubator to create that type of dynamic so that we can create new tax bases, new economies, and most importantly, jobs and entrepreneurship. And so that's what we are about. We are a one-stop shop. We help people with real estate. We help people with angel investment. We help people build, educational capital. We help folks, we help people navigate government, which I'm also the government relations director for GABA. So, my job is to talk to our lawmakers about why Africa matters and help them understand that it's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It's an economic development thing to impact our future. And so we help craft resolutions and bills locally here in the state of Michigan. We're not just in the state of Michigan, though. We have a presence also in Texas, Nebraska, North Carolina, California, and New York. And we also have a very strong presence in places like Nigeria, Liberia, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Mozambique, Kenya, and and I'm missing one country. That's how vast we're rapidly expanding. But this is what we do. I'm happy to be on the show. We can get the conversation started.
And that's what I meant to say, guys. When I was doing my introduction, I meant to say symbolic and emotional. So I would say growing from or expanding from just symbolic and an emotional connection to Africa, but now shifting into more of a business aspect as well. So my first question is, because this has been coming up a lot lately. When you have when you're in a room full of people from the Africans from the diaspora, and I would say Black Americans, and you're having that discussion as far as doing business and building that bridge. Does this conversation of the diaspora doesn't understand the struggles of Black America and what we've been through and everything we've gone through, and we made it possible for the African or the Black diaspora, whether it be from the Caribbean or from Africa, we made it possible for you guys to immigrate into this country. Does that come up a lot, or is it more like, hey, let's see how we can work together, let's see how we can collaborate? You tell me.
I think it comes up from time to time, but it only comes up because of the lack of knowledge. Of lack of knowledge on both ends, whether you're an African American or a continental African or Caribbean individual, it's just a lack of knowledge. We break down that knowledge with education. Within our circles in GABA, to be very direct, not just to you, to your audience, we don't see that a whole lot. Now, what we do see is people trying to inject from time to time social justice issues into an economic development space. And I have to remind people we're not a social justice agency. Now, we do have social justice partners like our friends here in Michigan with ABISA, CCSC, which is the Caribbean Community Service Center, the Nigerian Center in Washington, D.C. Those are our social justice partners. We allow them to focus heavily on immigration rights, and that aspect of education that you're mentioning. And then we focus on the back end on the economic and two-way pipeline of trade. And so that way we balance each other out. And now we have a dynamic force. I forgot to mention the Glimpse of Africa, which is based in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They have a very large East African population in Grand Rapids. A lot of West Africans live here in Metro Detroit. So we all work together to balance each other out. But I don't see a lot of that. I think a lot of that is also being broken down in this day and age because of the music, because of the food. You have folks here in Detroit They will tell me, "Have you ever been to Cola?" Well, I was just at Cola last night, hosting Harper, who's running for U.S. Senate here.
Is that Senegalese food, or what is
Oh, Cola is really West African and
okay.
Caribbean food.
Okay.
But they asked me, "Have I been to Cola restaurant?" Of course, I've been to Cola restaurant. Have you been to Maddie's? Maddie's is a Senegalese restaurant here in Detroit.
I've heard about Maddie's.
Yep, Maddie's. I go to Maddie's. A lot of African Americans go to Maddie's. They go to another Senegalese restaurant that's close to Inkster, Michigan, where we're based. It's called KG's. That's in Garden City, Michigan, next door. A lot of African Americans from Inkster go to KG's and get Senegalese and other West African cuisine. So what I'm going with this is, or Fork in Nigeria, which is a food truck in Detroit. So what I'm sharing with you is a lot of the ignorance is being broken down by food. It's being broken down by dance, music. It's even, and in some cases, it's even being broken down by relationships.
Right.
People are curious about dating a Nigerian or a Senegalese guy, or you have Nigerian women that's interested in African American men and so forth. And so a lot of those barriers, especially with this younger generation, or your millennials and Gen Zs, they're really breaking those barriers down. So you don't hear a lot of that ignorance that you hear come from my generation. I'm a Gen Xer or baby boomers. That's my experience.
Okay. So tell us about, I saw that. So tell us about Hill Harper's running for office, right?
Yeah, Hill Harper's running for U.S. Senate here in the state of Michigan. Okay. He's running against Alyssa Slotkin, who is a congresswoman in the Lansing area. It's really a two-man race between him and Alyssa Slotkin. We meaning the African Unity Caucus, which Gab is a part of. We hosted him last night at Cola. He came to me actually, and me and Hill have been following each other for the past year, but he came to me in February in Benton Harbor, Michigan. We were at the Michigan Black Summit together, and he asked me, he said, I want to really just speak to the African Caribbean community. Can we go to Cola and do that? I thought, I'll arrange it for you. So it was arranged. We had it last night. He spoke to our community. He said, listen, we need immigration reform. We definitely need to increase trade between the continent and the Caribbean diaspora in the state of Michigan, and so forth. And so it's going to be a very interesting race. The primary here is in August. He's gone around to all the urban communities, all the urban centers here in the state of Michigan, trying to gain support, and we'll see what happens.
Now, how often do politicians actually reach out to the African diaspora in terms of support? Does that happen often, or
no? It's not often. It just really kind of depends on. I'll be totally transparent. It just really depends on what the situation is. Let me just say this to the audience and say this to you. They'll come out to our community for social justice issues first, right, before economic or trade issues. So I have to beat the drum when I go to Lansing or see them in the community and remind them that your community is depleted of a tax base. You have high unemployment. You have a low marriage rate. That means you have less disposable income to launch businesses, and your education and your educational attainment is low. You need some type of fusion to create a balance in your district so that you can bring about change. And that's where I start having this trade conversation about imports, made in Africa products, made in Nigeria, made in Senegal, made in Sierra Leone products coming into the state of Michigan, creating entrepreneurship. And so we have that kind of conversation. They get it. But, my experience, being, co-founder of GABA for the last 10 years, is that our community is really, really, and politicians included, they're really, Black politicians are really hell-bent on social justice issues. It's kind of like you're running for office and then you become a community activist when you're supposed to be a policymaker. And I see that a whole lot. Now, I'm not knocking that 100% because there are some core social justice issues that need to be addressed in our community. But when you have it on, let me just say this, when you have it on overkill, and that's the way I see it, right, when you have it on overkill, that's a different conversation, and that's a different angle. I think there should be a balance of, some social justice issues, some social impact issues, and then there should be a balance of economic development, not even economic justice, some hard economic development that we are making impact in our community. And we need to think globally in 2024 as it pertains to that. No urban community here in the United States, no matter where you actually be broke, when you have an entire continent that you can tap into to get resources, entrepreneurship, human capital, and most importantly, influence so that your community can move forward here in the United States. We shouldn't be even having a conversation about begging for the crumbs that fall from the table when we should be owning and operating the table and writing the contents on the menu.
Let's dive in just a little bit more. You said, they focus, a lot of our politicians focus more on social justice issues, or they become community, you said community organizers or grassroots organizers versus policymakers, or what was the?
They become community organizers. I'm not making this up. I know a lot of my friends. Yeah, a lot of my friends are politicians, and it's really a safe space for them, which I understand.
Why is that? But why is that?
Because we have been trained for decades. I'll give you an example, and I was just explaining this to someone last night. I'll give you a hard example.
Go ahead.
When people come in my office, I'm an academic advisor at a community college here. When people come in my office, if they are immigrant, whether they're Yemeni, Bangladeshi, Nigerian, Cameroonian, or other, Jamaican or other, they coming in, they're majoring in things like STEM, dental hygiene, dental assisting, cybersecurity. I have a running joke. It's not really a joke, but it's a running joke I have in my office. If you're a Nigerian woman, I know you're coming in for nursing. If you're a Nigerian man, you're coming in for cybersecurity. So but my point is, a lot of the immigrant populations I service, they're coming in for STEM majors that's going to lead to more disposable income.
Right.
On the flip side, African American, most of my African American students that come in, they want to major in criminal justice. They want to major in social work. They want to major in the soft sciences, the soft social sciences, because or business administration. What are you trying to do in business administration? Well, I want to own my own nonprofit. Well, what kind of nonprofit you want to own? Well, I want to help. I want to help the mentally ill. Which all mental health is a crisis in our communities globally. But the issue here is it creates less disposable income down the road for that individual. And the studies have been shown on this already, creates less disposable income when you're majoring in these soft sciences or these soft social sciences, as opposed to the STEM. That means we have not done a good job in this country with our children, encouraging them to go into STEM and encouraging them to understand the importance of financial literacy to pull themselves and pull the family and the village out of poverty the way we see fit. And so you look at these people on TV that are talking about, and you got to pay attention to the words they say. The struggle continues. We shall overcome. We're begging for our rights.
Right.
All my life I
had to fight.
Right. It's the words that our community and our leaders are using is really words of oppression. And so, as opposed to, here's an example. Here's a clear example I use all the time. You have a company with shareholders that discriminate against Black folks. Okay.
Right.
So instead of us coming together and creating a Black-owned and operating investment bank or investment firm, so that we can invest in this investment bank to buy up all the shares in that particular company, kick out your board and the CEO, and we take over the company, it's easier for us to get on our knees and pray and beg and and create this kind of scene in hopes that we can shame them when we should be doing the hard work after 400 years being in this country.
Right.
That is, I think what we need to do is have a mental shift and understanding the importance of wealth transfer as it pertains to the global economy, i.e. Africa and the Caribbean diaspora, and even Africans in Europe and Asia, they're a part of this movement as well, to understand the true wealth of who we are, as opposed to begging someone that don't look like us.
So it's probably been we'll say 7 months, half a year since the last time. No, even longer than that. Goodness, you haven't been on for a minute.
Right.
What new what's happened over the course of the last 8 or 9 months since you've been on? Like what any new initiatives or?
Well, so what we're working on right now is the GABA Marketplace Center. You're gonna love this one. This is directly to you.
Go ahead.
We were myself and Rary, our CEO, was talking about you in the car on Monday. We would come back from Cleveland.
Okay.
So our CEO, she was in Sierra Leone, and her cousin is an architect over there. He's connected with government. So we've made a lot of deep inroads in Sierra Leone.
I need his number when we get offline.
Okay, all right. He's when I say we talked about you in the car, brother, we say we got to get Dynas Amir. We got to bring him up to speed of what's going on, what we're doing in Sierra Leone. And so
please do.
And so there's I know she met with the Minister of Information and Technology. She met with the Minister of Trade. And what we're trying to do with Sierra Leone is pretty much set that nation up to say, hey, listen, you got a seat at the table here in the state of Michigan in terms of trade.
Okay.
So what we're working on right here is our distribution hub through our GABA Marketplace Center program. We've already started working with our retail stores, our African Caribbean grocery stores, in terms of supporting them. Now that's very important because an African Caribbean grocery store is already buying products from the continent. Now, and you're already creating a supply chain. The problem with this particular supply chain, the problem with this particular supply chain is that a lot of our African Caribbean grocery stores owners are driving 4 hours to Chicago to buy African Caribbean products from a Hispanic or a Chinese owner, wholesale, to get these products, and they driving another 4 hours back to Detroit. So or they drive to Cincinnati, and so or they go to New York and get the products. And so what we need to do is develop a distribution commerce hub here in Southeast Michigan and create our own supply chain, so they're not driving 4 to 5 hours or waiting on their shipment to come from New York. They can get their stuff right here in Southeast Michigan. So we're creating a supply chain, a global supply chain. We have our partners in Nigeria ready to go. We met with the Port of Cleveland yesterday, Tuesday. We met with a representative of Port of Cleveland. We were in Cleveland on Monday looking at the Port of Cleveland. The Port of Cleveland is significant because it's a container port. And so it's the only container port on Lake Erie. So Cleveland being, Cleveland and Detroit, the distance is 2.5 hours. That's very close.
I didn't know that. That's close. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's very close. We already have a relationship and a partnership with the Detroit Wayne County Port Authority. But the issue here in Michigan is that we don't have a container port here. And so they're building one container port in Port of Monroe, which is 30 minutes south of here, the first of its kind in the state of Michigan. But the Port of Cleveland, in fact, we have another meeting with them on Friday to kind of dig deeper into conversations of how they're not getting any traffic from Africa. That's what caught our attention, myself and Rary. They're not getting any traffic from Africa. No parts of the continent is coming into Cleveland. So that is a tactical advantage for us to try to create that pipeline in the Great Lakes region. But we also have a pipeline out of Newark, New Jersey, to funnel in products into the Great Lakes as well. So we're working on that whole commerce center distribution piece. That's vital. Part of our retail strategy is to build collaborations with our business ecosystem partners. These are our micro lenders. These are our grant writers and so forth. And between our micro lenders, we have close to $1 million in wealth and capital that we can help our African Caribbean business owners succeed. This is a statewide initiative. It's not just Detroit or Inkster or Romulus. This is a statewide initiative that we're building a global supply chain and try to link the wealth, like we always been preaching for 10 years, between our region and sub-Saharan Africa. That's really on top of the list right now, and it's a pressing issue because it is in great demand. You may see me sometimes on social media promoting a company called Duchess Naturals Limited.
I saw
Yeah,
that.
so that's a company out of Nigeria. Uh, that's a company. Our team in Nigeria is quarterbacking that. What I did was I gave them a presence here in the state of Michigan so they can have a U.S. presence as well officially. Now we're ready to do our pipeline of importing goods from places like Nigeria. But Sierra Leone is top of the list. I explained that to Rary, that now we can go to Lansing, talk to our policymakers, that Sierra Leone is ready to make some impact. We know, Dynas, that you are taking people to Sierra Leone on a regular basis, showing them not just the culture, but what's there. Um, that's something that our policymakers and our stakeholders here need to understand, that Sierra Leone is a gold mine, is a diamond mine in terms of potential investment, whether you're in architecture, education, ICT, whether you are into real estate, commercial real estate, and so forth. That is what the impact we are working on. And so with all this stuff that we're doing is very powerful. We have a certified AGOA trade advisor, which is part of one of our board directors here in GABA. We have partnered with a company in Kenya called Venture Lift Africa, right out of Nairobi, Kenya. They're the ones that train the certified AGOA trade advisors, as well as connected to Prosper Africa. And so we're working with that organization to give them a presence here in the state of Michigan. And so it's a lot of work on our hands right now. I've sometimes sometimes you hear me mention about federal agencies, but what we're trying to work on as our own particular agency in GABA is really focus on our local, county, and state governments. We're working with the county government right now, and really focus on local impact. And so it is a I don't want to call it a race to the finish, kind of the race to the beginning. But we have a lot of work to do in 2024 as it pertains to really getting the supply chain off the ground.
Guys, links in the chat room. If you want to call in and if you have a question, please click on the link. Link is in the chat room. Again, if you want to call in and ask the conversation, I'll put the link back into the chat room so you could call in and add to the conversation. Or if you have a question, you could call in and ask a question. How can people get in contact? If people want more information on GABA, where can they go?
Oh, GABAnetwork.com. GABAnetwork.com. Just go there, make an inquiry, and one of us will reach out to you.
I'm gonna pull the site up now.
They can also, if they can screenshot my first and last name right there, you can find me on social media, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm all over the place. I'm your gateway to the Global African Business Association. That's our website right there. There's all kinds of good information. Hit that video when you come to our website. We have a lot of strategic partners and collaborations with companies and organizations that's helping us move this process forward. So, this is a real movement. This is not a Mickey Mouse operation that we're doing. We're a small operation. We don't have 1,000 members or 2,000 members. It's a very small group, but it's a very small group of influence. And that's what we preach about, is influence. We're not here just to have dinners and sit around, take photo ops. I know there's photo ops right there, but that was part of our Global Business Dinner Awards. That was inaugural last year. We've never done that. But it's deeper than the awards and things with us. It's really about making community impact. I'm the president of the board of directors for the Leanna Hicks Public Library in Inkster. And what we did was I tied in the library in the city of Inkster with GABA. And the reason I did that, and I use it as an institution, is because the library is good for not just technological usage, but it's also good for training and outreach. And so that's another angle that we work at. We're building. The other thing I wanted to share with your audience, we do have one board member is working on launching a charter boarding academy here in Southeast Michigan to attract international students and domestic students, to teach them not just about culture, but about STEM. It's called African City School of Leadership and Innovation. We are working on finding an authorizer for the school as we speak. And this, again, another institution that is moving forward here in the Global African Business Association. We also have the GABA Smart Center that we are launching in North Carolina this year. This is a prop tech hub, not just incubation space, but technology spaces as well. So there's a lot going on. I'm trying to turn our library in Inkster into an innovation hub. So entrepreneurship and technology. One of our entrepreneur partners will be there today, training people in the community for the next 5 weeks, 5 to 7 weeks. So there's a lot going on with the Global African Business Association. This is an active organization. We do this day in and day out faithfully. And as our CEO, Rary Onamake, has stated to us multiple times, she is looking to move the needle even higher in 2024.
All right, when you say innovation hub, what all does that consist of?
Well, in this particular case, for the innovation hub, at least for the library, we're focusing on 2 areas: entrepreneurship and technology. So we have we have our entrepreneurship partners at the library already. So like Prosperity Trade, Access, Michigan Women Forward, New Economy Initiative. Those are some entrepreneurial partners that's already at our library. And then the technology piece is geared towards not just the digitalization of library sciences and information, but it's also increasing technology spaces within a library system. And so we have our main library technology partner is the Library Network, which is a co-op organization here in the state of Michigan. They handle all of our technology needs, but also other technology partners that we're looking for around Southeast Michigan, as well as nationally and internationally. We want to use our library space as a model to take to the continent, whether that's Sierra Leone or Nigeria or Kenya or South Africa. We want to use our Leanna Higgs Public Library of Inkster as a model library. I mean, I was on that library board before when we were building that library. I was the president of that library board before. That was back before 2020. And so we want to take that model eventually and take it and duplicate the model as a sister library concept in other countries that we can build relationships with.
Now, what's the importance of, the diaspora and Black America starting to build this, I would say, these business relationships and building this bridge? Like, why is it needed now in 2024?
I think it's important because when you look at cities like Detroit, Inkster, and I'm talking about cities here in Michigan first, Detroit, Inkster, Highland Park, Benton Harbor, Muskegon Heights, and you look at those communities and you look at the statistics of those communities. I mean, you're talking about median income of $30,000, marriage rate 18 to 20%. I think Highland Park, Michigan, I think the marriage rate is 18%. People are not even married. You know what I'm saying? Black folks. You're looking at a low educational attainment rate. You're looking at high unemployment. I know in the city of Inkster, our poverty rate is 35%. And in Inkster alone, we do not even have a bank or a credit union, no financial institution. We don't have a pharmacy in the city of Inkster. So what I'm sharing with you, no medical outlet like a hospital or barely even an urgent care. So what I'm sharing with you is these cities that I'm talking about, this is prime time to utilize these cities as municipal incubators to attract new talent and new businesses and launching new entrepreneurship opportunities from the continent into these local communities so that we can have a cross-cultural relationship when it comes to an African American owning and operating their own African franchise from a Nigeria or from a South Africa or from a Kenya or from a Liberia, you know what I'm saying? And that way you have it here in a city locally here, and you're making impact by hiring people to work, teaching people about entrepreneurship, of ownership, and most importantly, you have a tax base. I think those, and on the flip side, you have African Americans who are interested in doing business in Africa. Now, right. there are a ton of opportunities on the continent that African Americans can engage in. But one of the key things I try to tell people, and I'm very honest when I talk to our brothers and sisters here in the U.S. Don't go over there seeking a contract. Go over there seeking a destiny. And what that means is, if you're trying to do something for to get rich pretty quick, that's most likely not going to work. But if you're going over there in terms of destiny or legacy building, and you start off with a small, medium-sized enterprise, and you build your way up, and you get to know the people, you get to know the language, the food, the culture, and how things work and operate, then you're going to be more successful in your endeavor. There are a lot of African Americans on the continent that's doing phenomenal work and life-changing things, not just for themselves, for their children. And that's important. And we preach that a lot. And there are people who have come to us from the continent and come to GABA. We show them the ropes. We point them in the right direction, and they're doing phenomenal. So what we have to do in terms of the diaspora, when it comes to whether Black Americans or continental Africans or Caribbean nationals, we have to learn to work together. And how we work together is start moving away from, this is a big one, moving away from civil rights, CIVIL rights, to silver rights, SILVER rights. We have to move away from the 60s mentality and come into the 21st century under the fourth industrial revolution. Those things are very, very key and very important if we're going to be competitive and be taken seriously in the 21st century. How can an Arab or a Chinese person or a person from Vietnam or wherever, Russia, wherever, can come in your community, buy up the block, and build wealth off the ignorance of you? How can that happen? And how can that be? And so the reason why those things happen is because we still have an old mindset of what we're doing. Going back to what we talked about earlier about the words we use. We shall overcome. Let's pray. Let's where do we go from here? That's another big one. People like that. Where do we go from here? How many times have you heard that?
I haven't heard it all.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So we need to shift our mindset, and we need to shift the way we look at things. And that's what we try to teach in GABA. It's not about whether you're African American or otherwise. It's not about where you come from. It's about where you're going. And hopefully myself and Rary and others, we work together as a collective to help shift the mindset of people so they can see themselves in a different light.
So the rumor is, okay, this is the rumor, that these other groups are able to come into our community because I guess there's this secret bank loan or money that's given to immigrants that Black Americans don't have access to. That's what I was told. Is that true?
I've never heard that. I mean, Black immigrants come over here all the time and they ask us, they say, well, can we get a grant? We not even a microloan. Can we get a grant? That's what they always ask us. Right. No, there's no secret. There's no secret anything. What people need to understand, I mean, Black immigrants come over here all the time. Black migrants come over here all the time. We show them if they want to open a business. We have enough partnerships in this area in this state where they want to open a business anywhere in the state. They can go. They can learn about a microloan. They may feel a little nervous because the word loan is in that word, but the people need to understand. Hey, people need to understand that microloan may be the only resource you need to get to where you're going down the road. And so we educate people about microlending. We do educate people about grants, what's available. We educate people about financial literacy, and especially through our business ecosystem partners. They do a phenomenal job of training immigrants that look like you and I about this whole scenario about business development and business financing and having access to capital. There's no secret about anything. There's no secret that Black folks and Black immigrants, they come over here seeking a better life. There's no secret behind that. The key thing is to provide them with the resources and help them understand the importance of these resources. That's going to make a difference. That's what the kind of barriers we try to break down in GABA.
Guys, if you want to call in. If not, we'll start closing out. Link is in the chat room. Anything else you'd like to share in closing?
Go to gabanetwork.com. Follow me on social media. I post a lot of great things about what we're doing. We are about setting up a supply chain in 2024. We have our GABA Marketplace Center program up and running. This is supporting our African grocery stores. And let me just share something. This is important since we're talking about, the diaspora. Let me remind everybody: African Caribbean grocery stores are Black owned and operated. Let's get away from the whole notion that if an African American opened up a grocery store, oh, this is the first Black owned and operated grocery store. Okay, that's cool, but what about the African Caribbean grocery stores? I have to say that because
if I can interject, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
So here in Atlanta, or a suburb in Atlanta, Jonesboro, like there's a grocery store, not just a market, like a full-size grocery store, like a Kroger, that's owned by a Jamaican.
Yep.
Right off of not Jonesboro Road, off of Terra Boulevard, and he has two of them. Not just a market, not to minimize, whether it was minimize or whether it's a market or a full size. He has a grocery store,
right? But it's owned by a Jamaican.
It's owned by Jamaican.
You go to Houston, Wanzobia Market is a kind of like a Kroger concept. There's two of them in Houston. We visited both of them last year in Houston, so we know. But the psychological block is, unfortunately, a lot of us say we don't think about those type of grocery stores because they're Jamaican or Nigerian or Caribbean or African. We focus on that African American concept. Let's understand that we are all part of this diaspora together as one, is where I'm going with this. And so we got to create a supply chain. We have to create our own global supply chain. We are looking at, one thing I forgot to mention, we're also looking at non-agricultural products to import into Michigan. So that's your minerals, whether that's lithium, we're exploring that, and other minerals that ties in with electric vehicles. We're also looking at textiles to import. So this is a full-scale thing we're doing. Some of it is in its preliminary stages. We're just doing the research and talking to these people in these spaces to get more education. Other things that we're working on has moved forward. And so this is a real movement that we are developing and have developed over the past 10 years. And we're going to continue to make this happen and make our case. We understand that we need criminal justice reform. We understand Black maternal health. The importance of it. We understand that we need police brutality. Police brutality needs to end in this country. We need access to the regular conversations will remain. But I think what we also have to understand is we need to stop begging people who do not look like us for our right, not just to be Black, but to be human. We ourselves can take our resources and learn to trust one another. And part of learning to trust one another is just to build a relationship with each other and build some capacity with each other so that we can break down these barriers and control our own destiny and legacy for generations to come. I think that's important. Please go to gabanetwork.com if you want to hear more information, or find me on social media, and we'll have a conversation.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family, Dynasty Mirror Search for Huru. Peace.
Peace.